Good day, everybody. My name is Redeyes, and if you're asking, what's this then, about Abyssus, then I'm here to help answer that question. So, Abyssus is a FPS roguelike brine punk game? And you may be wondering, what is brine punk? And it's basically wet steampunk, is kind of what I'm going to call it. It's pretty interesting. I like the visual style of this game a lot. Developed by Double Moose Games. Some previous games they made were Just Die Already and Animal Super Squad. Published by the Arcade Crew. This one released on the 12th of October, so yesterday, as of the time of recording this video. You can pick it up for about £17.84 or $21.24, however it is on a 15% introductory offer, so this will go up 15% after August 19th. So if you like what you've seen here and you want to give it a go, now is as good a time as any to pick it up and see, make use of that refund policy on Steam and see if you like it. Now, there were a couple of demos leading up to the release of this game, but no demo for the full release. So if you want to try it, you gotta pay the full thing. Now, I've played it for about 8 hours or so, and it's pretty funny, because I knew of this game's existence, but I wasn't keenly aware of the exact date it was coming out. And then got an email from Steam saying game on your wishlist has just released. I was like, oh cool, I'll pick that up and I'll play it for a little bit here, see what I think. So I played one of the demos like 2 years ago, I think, in a Steam Next Fest, I believe. And had a good time, but, it was still very early, so didn't think too much. And I was like, yeah, I'll check this one out whenever it comes out, because it looks cool, it's got a cool aesthetic. I like roguelike shooters, so... But then I played it for like 8 hours straight, yesterday. And I had a really good time with this game. Now, before we dive into the gameplay and I start discussing why I had such a good time, let's hop into the settings as always, so I can just show you what's going on in here. Display, you've got pretty much everything you would need. One of my absolute favorite things that games do is giving us an FPS limiter that is individual numbers that we can just set to whatever we want. It is absolutely lovely. I think all games should do this if possible. You can also set the background max frame rate, so whenever you're alt-tabbed out, it won't be constantly trying to push, 200 frames or whatever you've got that set to. If we move on over to graphics, this isn't the most graphically demanding game in the world, so there's not really a ton in here that doesn't need to be a ton. One of the things I really do like is that you can turn anti-aliasing just off. Not a lot of games let you do that at the minute for some reason. Just with being on a 4K monitor, I usually turn anti-aliasing off because the 4K kind of brute forces past the need for anti-aliasing, so it's nice to be able to turn this off so I don't have like any weird blurriness or anything like that. And you've got all your texture detail, visual effects, post-processing, shadows, blah blah blah. A separate thing for anti-aliasing, so you can have it on and then at different levels. And then motion blur and depth of field, which you can thankfully turn off. They're not like rolled into post-processing like some games like to do, which is a bit annoying. Gameplay, there is a lot to change here. You can change health bars, crosshair, you can do crosshair alignment. The game defaults to lowered, so it's kind of like how Halo is. Put this to centered immediately, unless you're a psychopath. After this, you've got a bunch of sensitivity stuff. Field of view, love to see it. I've kept it at 90, didn't really feel like it needed to go above that. That was the default. My sensitivity and scoped, because some of the guns can zoom in. So you want to be able to change that, which, funnily enough, I played the Battlefield 6 beta recently, and I could not find a way to change scope sensitivity for specific weapons, and that really annoyed me. That was like one of the things about the Battlefield 6 beta that was actually kind of a downside for me, because you could zoom in with normal like ARs and stuff totally fine, but when it came to like a sniper rifle, your sensitivities were just all over the place. So good to see this sort of stuff here. We love to see that. Do your inverting of the axes and all that business. If we hop into audio, it's pretty much same story here, it's all good stuff. Master volume starts at 50. This is something I'm starting to notice more games are doing. I'm guessing as more and more audio systems for people are getting more diversified, that having it start in the middle instead of at the top is just better, because then you just have more leeway either way. I know a friend of mine is a particularly big fan of games that do this, so people who appreciate that are out there. For me personally, it's never really been that much of an issue, but good to see. Music effects and voice, pretty much everything you'd need to change. Mute game on focus, we love that. Enable binaural audio. Don't know why I struggle with that word sometimes. I haven't really noticed this too much. Played it with it on, played it with it off. Like, it's definitely there, it definitely works. It's just interesting to see it as a setting, But it's good. Key bindings, full key rebindings for everything you want to do. Love to see that. And full key rebinding for gamepad as well, which is something you do not see every day. That's really cool to see. But yeah, that's the settings. Pretty good. Nothing too crazy, but it's got some, you know, nice little additions in there. No accessibility options. That's one thing I did notice. Now in gameplay, there's some stuff, you know, you might want to like change like camera shakes and stuff like that. That could be for people who get like maybe a bit motion sick, but no proper accessibility stuff. So I would like to see that in there. But let's hop into the game, and I will show you what I like about it. So, welcome to Abyssus. As you can see, I think wet steampunk is pretty apt for the look of the game. And it's also got an Aztec kind of flair. Or I hope it's Aztec. I kind of get mixed up with Aztec and like Maya and all that sort of stuff sometimes. So hopefully I'm right when I say that. Because there's also a co-op game. I'm not sure if I mentioned at the start. I think I missed that. But you can see you get 4 little tents. I've started noticing some games doing that, you know, like Deep Rock Galactic. You got 4 little rooms for all your buddies. Whenever they spawn in, they'll appear in their own like little tents. Just a nice little feature for co-op that I really quite like. But yeah, this is your hub. This is where you will do your gear. This is where you can do a bunch of other stuff, like change your wardrobe, change your appearance, do that thing. That's where you start your game. Over here, you've got like a little firing range to test your weapons and stuff, so you can just be like, oh, this is how this weapon works. Honestly, this firing range goes so much harder than it needs to. Like, you can set up, like, flying enemies, you can do, like, a time trial, you can do moving, static, like, all sorts of stuff. Considering how fast it is to, like, get into another game and just get going, it's just interesting that that's quite as in-depth as it is. I would say that's someone's, like, little pet project, which I quite like. And then you've got a few other places around here, like this is kind of like your trophy room, I guess you would call it, just as you beat bosses or reach milestones, stuff will appear in here. You've also got the logbook. This is all your challenges. This will show you like how to unlock something, because you'll need to unlock like new weapons, you'll need to complete challenges or do certain things, or unlock attachments for weapons. Speaking of which, I will show you that now, because this is the workbench where you'll actually do your loadout. You can see all the weapons at the bottom here. I'm only going to show you this one today. This is my personal favorite that I've used so far. This is the one I beat the game for the first time with. I beat the game in the first, like, 2 hours. Or at least, sorry, I shouldn't say I beat the game. I beat the final boss in the first 2 hours on the first, like, sort of base difficulty of the game. Now, this game does have, like, the meta progression stuff of, like, the game gets harder every time you beat it. And there's different modifiers and all that sort of stuff. So I'm definitely not done with the game. You know, I'm absolutely not done. Still got a weapon to get, still unlockables to do. But, yeah, I used this thing, I got an absolute god run, and I just fried everything in my sight. It was incredible. But we'll get more into sort of how the gameplay does in a bit here. So you get a weapon, as you can see here, and then you get a primary mod, secondary mod, and an ability. So your primary mod is your left click. And you can see for this one, overload targets when hitting their weak points. So you just shoot them in their weak point, and then every now and again, they'll just sort of explode, take extra damage. Your secondary mod is your right click. This charges up a slow-moving orb that zaps nearby enemies. Now, if you've ever played Resistance 2, I think it was, probably other games with this sort of thing in it, but this is just the one I remember. But Resistance 2 had like a little gun that the secondary fire fired out a little electricity orb that like zoomed past enemies and like zapped them on the way. That's pretty much what this is. Fire it, goes past them, zaps them, does the job. And then you've got your ability, which there's a bunch of in here. Now, don't worry about like spoilers for seeing these, because when you start the game you'll be able to see the symbols, you know, like kind of what they are, but it doesn't like ruin anything to see this. You know, I'm not spoiling the surprise of what these are because it just tells you. But my personal favorite is turrets, but you can also get stuff like you know, a grenade and a melee hit and stuff like that. But I like turrets because I'm a turret build man. If there's turrets to be built, if there's minions to be summoned, that's what I'm doing. But yeah, and then you can also do like colors and stuff. To do that, you need to get like you need to get all the unlockables for the weapon and stuff. One really cool thing. So if I go in here, so I don't have this yet, and it says complete battery to unlock. So if I click that, it just zooms me straight to the challenge and says hit enemies 200 times with a single spark orb. And that is like, I love that. I love that it just takes you to the relevant part of the logbook and just says, here it is. Here's what you need to do. Really, really handy. And then if we have a look at the wardrobes, as you can imagine, they're all like deep sea diving themed, all sorts of really cool stuff. There's a really cool one down here that I'd quite like. But yeah, I got like the traditional one. I think you get that for like beating the game for the first time. Do all sorts of stuff. If you get all the achievements, you get the Admiral one. Yeah, really, really cool stuff. I like it. It's all in the game. There's like one or two that are like a little pre-order bonus or like a little tiny DLC pack you can go and buy and get some extra cosmetics, but nothing too crazy. But I just really like that it's all here in the game and you can just get it. But I hate the fact that I have to like even say that as a thing these days, you know? Like, oh, it's all in the game right away. That's incredible. But yeah, so this is your little hub area. It's not too bad. Does the job. Now this big, large thing that it keeps saying gain more power, the soul wheel, this is your meta progression. Because that's what makes this a roguelike and not a roguelite, I believe is the correct way those go. Because I believe a roguelite is like the original game that all this is kind of based off, and it had no like sense of meta progression, and roguelike is like that, but has meta progression. So you get in here, and through it runs, you'll get like soul fragments. You get these in multiple different ways, beating bosses, opening certain chests and stuff, and then you've got like different things like you do more damage, and that costs 1 at this tier along the bottom row, and you have to spend 5 to unlock the next tier, and then those cost 2, and then those cost 3, and then 5, then whatever. And you just sort of make your way up to the top. Did not take me too long. Like I said, this is about 8 hours, and I've nearly got everything already. Did kind of fly up through that. Now this is the interesting one. This is the deep water tank. As you beat the game, every run you beat, you get a brine canister, and you can put that in here. And you see I've got 3 brine canisters because I've beaten the game 3 times now. So I can put this in here, so enemies have a 20% chance to have an augmentation, and that tells you what they are. And then enemies and bosses deal 30% additional damage and have more health. And then corrupt 1 random depth per area. Corruptive depths offer a player a choice between easier or harder depth, blah, blah, blah. You know, so it's still enhancing the game. There is still absolutely a ton to do here. Now, for the purposes of this run, I'm just going to show you like a normal run, just so I don't have to focus too hard while I discuss about the game. But yeah, let's hop in. So we hop into our big diving bell, which is really cool. I love the look of this big thing. We hit it. Now, one disappointing thing. The diving bell does not actually descend, it just cuts to a black screen, and then we load, which is very upsetting. I would have loved to have seen it actually like go down. But it's so far down, and the loading screen is so fast, it would have to go down so hilariously fast, but I'd be down for that. So, depth 1, as you might imagine, we're going deeper and deeper into the water, so depths are our levels. And this game is not procedurally generated, in the sense that every room that you go into is actually a crafted room, but the order in which you see them is random every time. So you will see the same room layouts, but you won't see them in the same order. So we hop into this room, and this is one of our starting rooms. So our enemies spawn in. I'm going to chuck down a little turret, you know, maybe zap up there. Now keep in mind, I am, you know, I have a lot of the meta progression stuff on at the minute, so I'm killing these enemies like a good bit faster than you likely would be on your first run, so it will look a bit easier than it realistically is. However, if I did have to say one criticism just to sort of chuck out there, I do think the first area, the first like biome, there's 4 of them. The first biome is a little bit too easy, I'd say, to start off with. I think I made it through the first biome on my first run, getting hit like maybe 1 time. Because it's kind of like just very easy to just side strafe everything. And when your movement is double jump and a dash, you're going to be side strafing quite a bit. And then the dash is for like, you know, those crazier, wackier enemies later on. Yeah, the game looks really good. I like its aesthetic. Now, like I said, it's not like a powerhouse in the sense that, like, you know, the texture work isn't the craziest thing you've ever seen. But given the price range, given the sort of devs, like, you know, indie game status that this is, or maybe it's AA, it's always a weird middle ground, weird gray area, like where the lines are drawn in that regard. But I think the game looks pretty good. Aesthetically, though, I'm a big fan. I love all the ship stuff, the brine punk, all these being all over the place. Really, really cool. And oh yes, you have pots lying over the place. If you see a gold pot, it's got some gold in it, because you'll need gold to buy stuff from the shop, because it is a roguelike after all. There will be a shop. So yeah, that's like 1 room down. Then you move on. There's a little connecting room that'll lead you to the next room. And then from there, you're kind of in. And then you do it again. Now, some rooms will have modifiers, or sorry, not modifiers, but will have different objectives. So most of the time, you'll just be going into a room and you kill everything, as you might expect. However, sometimes you'll get rooms that are like, kill this specific enemy, and then a new one will spawn. You have to do it like 3 times. Or there's crystals, you have to destroy them to stop the enemies spawning. And they're themed around the biome you're in, so you won't see the same objective. They're similar style objectives, but they won't look the same depending on what biome you're in. And the biomes are really diverse. I don't know if I'll show you all the biomes in this run, because I probably could pretty easily, on this difficulty, get to the end and fight the final boss, certainly. Maybe not beat him, depending on what we get, but I'll probably just show you like maybe the first two, or we'll just see how long it takes me to really discuss most of the game with you. But yeah, so moving through another little connector room. Now there's secrets in this game, you know, you've got to keep your eyes out for secrets. Here we've got a locked chest. Normally you don't start with keys, but meta progression stuff, I start with keys now. And this is actually one of our like upgrades in the run. Accidentally fired that bad boy. So aspect of night, because I got this out of a chest, this one is a specific aspect. You pick these up, they're like blessings. And if I hold tab, you can see these like 3 trees. You will get a blessing, and it will either be tied to your left click, your right click, or your Q, your ability. And once that is on, so if I took this and attached it to my left click, it is now on that for the rest of the run. Like, I can keep upgrading it, obviously, but I can't change it to another one. So if I pick that and put it on something, it is committed for this run. And it can be stuff like your primary now builds up fire and does more damage. And that will scale differently depending on what you put it on. So if you put it on your ability, it's going to scale differently than when you put it on your like left click, for example. Now I'm going to skip that because I want to show you I want to show you the proper way that you get those rather than those rechests. But those rechests, they can appear. They sometimes have a lock, sometimes they don't. And they can sometimes give you gold, they can give you soul fragments for the meta progression, they can give you blessings like that. All sorts of stuff, just like a fun little thing to get in the middle of a run. You never know what's going to be in them. Kill that flying enemy. And yeah, so here we go. This is the normal one. So every now and again in rooms you'll get these altars. They will give you a choice of 2. And naturally you're going to be able to like re-roll sometimes if you get the soul fragment ability to be able to do that. So I'll show you this one. I like this one a lot. The aspect of spirit grants you the power to control spirits and have them attack your enemies. Every spirit blessing increases damage to enemies with low health. So they will give you an ability, but they will also give you a passive, which is really cool. So let's pick that. So this is now, we've gone into the soul aspect, and then we have to pick between 2. Your ability or your secondary is what it's given me. So if I wanted this on my left click, for example, I could just reroll. Oh, it rerolls the whole thing. I actually haven't done that yet, so, well, I've just learned that now. So let's get the aspect of fire or frost. Both of these are really strong. Fire and frost are really, really good. So I'm going to go fire, and we'll say, yeah, we'll put that on the primary. So primary fire deals 15% additional damage and has a 24% chance to set enemies on fire. Now, considering we have a big laser beam that ticks quite a lot, that is very good, you know. So the synergies of the different blessings based on the types of weapon you're using and how they work is really the appeal here. And I find myself, like, I get excited about new mods for weapons, even if that mod is something I'm not necessarily super interested in. But now, the way the blessings interact with them specifically, it just makes it way more interesting to go like, oh, well, I want to see how fire deals with that. I want to see how the chain lightning blessing, synergizes with this ability. So every little upgrade, I feel like there's a pretty high chance you're going to be interested in it in some way or another, which is, I think, a really crucial part of any roguelike game, is making that progression interesting for everyone, or potentially interesting for everyone. Now, if you look around, you can find like little journals, because the sort of premise of the game is that you're washed up on this like weird place, essentially, and you can find journals from people, and they like talk about how weird it is here, and how when they die they come back to camp, and that's all very strange. Yeah, okay, so this is one of the special rooms. So we have an objective here to destroy 3 pylons. So we have to find pylons, and then we break it, and then the next one will spawn, and we go break that. And the enemies will not stop spawning until that happens. So you find those. And healing initially is quite scarce. So when it comes to these rooms, you really want to get them done fast, because the damage you take can add up quickly. So we'll throw out a little orb of lightning that can go do its thing. And you see, we're like we set enemies on fire with our left click and stuff now. Fire just sort of, as you would imagine, sort of ticks away damage-wise. But you can see at the bottom left, I've got 3 sort of healing items. That is, can't use them until I get hurt. But essentially, they're Once they're used, you do not get them back until you get to like an altar that refreshes your health and stuff. And I believe those only appear at the end of each biome until you do some meta progression stuff. So healing can actually be like really quite hard. So if you have a really rough room, you take a lot of damage like that at the beginning, that's going to stick with you for a while. And even at the point I'm at now, like if I had a really bad like boss fight or a really bad like elite fight, it would be hard to recover from that. Certainly, you'd have to be playing very well. Now this thing here lets us upgrade. This is a meta progression thing. You will not be seeing this when on your first run, but you can upgrade your ability or you can upgrade your weapon, and these give you some buffs. So increase range says radius of your secondary duration is increased by 20%. Just do the range and radius by 50%. Like, that's quite good. That's one thing I really enjoy about the progression in this game, is the stats are sizable. You know, we're not talking 1 and 2% on damage here. You know, anytime there's a 1 or 2%, it's because the effect it's giving you is like ridiculous, or it might have a prerequisite that makes it really strong if you meet a certain criteria, for example. And the 1% is to keep it in check for most people, you know. But now that's going to be 50% more effective, which is significant considering the size of these rooms and stuff, you know. So we head on through here, we do a little dash, a little double jump. Now the movement isn't like too crazy, but it's enough to keep it like varied, you know. It feels good to move around in this game. It feels nice to like dodge and duck enemies, but it's not like a movement game, if that makes sense. Like RoboQuest would be a bit more of like a movement FPS roguelite than this one would be, for example. Clear up this room, no bother at all. So yeah, as I said, like I said, this is going to be a little bit easy. So it looks like a bit of a cakewalk, like I said. But oh, we have like a mini upgrade shrine. This is again meta progression thing. So this just lets me choose one of my blessings and specifically upgrade it. Otherwise, you wouldn't normally be able to do that. And we head on through, and I think we're going to have a... Okay, it's another normal room, but I think we have an elite coming up. So every biome has an elite enemy and then a boss enemy. And then you move on to the next biome. Oh, forgive the dogs barking in the background, if you can hear that. Just some unfortunate timing. But I ain't re-recording the whole video for a dog barking, no sir. So here we have Blood God's Altar. So again, these wouldn't be appearing normally, but they make your runs a lot easier once you start getting them, and once the difficulty starts getting up there, like, you're going to start wanting that sort of stuff. And I think we're going to walk into... Yes, I think we'll be coming up on an elite enemy here, so not quite a boss fight, but definitely stronger than your average enemy. Now, these are the same in every biome, same elite, same boss. I've only seen a varied boss fight, or a varied elite fight near the end of the game, which I probably won't get to and spoil here for you. But fighting them is fun. And it's mostly about, like, how is your build stacking up against them, you know? They're almost like, well, sort of what bosses are supposed to be traditionally in games, is just like a damage check, you know, a skill check. Like, how good are you doing this on this run? Can you get past me easily enough? So on this one we got Frost, so like fire, shoot people, it builds up frost, and then eventually they're frozen. You can't freeze elites or bosses. You can freeze pretty much everything else. But when they're frozen, you can also... They are slowed still on elites and bosses, and then there's some modifiers you can get from there. So we'll put that on our turrets, because they're going to be shooting away, applying lots of that. So we'll walk in here, throw down a couple of turrets, fire a little lightning ball, and there's our elite there. And then we're just going to zap away at them. Like I said, I am very strong for the current difficulty that we're playing, so this elite is absolutely melting. First time you fight it, you're going to be probably not killing it that fast. Although you could get a god run on your first one, who knows. Whenever you defeat them, you get some little buffs here, like increase max health by 25. There's a soul fragment, we like that. And you also get a charm. Charms you can get in a variety of ways, but bosses and elites will always drop them. Deal 10% more damage for every minor and major blessing. Those are in here. So this tree that goes down, so this is fire, obviously, and then as I get more upgrades, this will just keep sort of going down. And at the third fire choice, so this is the first one, second, third, that'll be a minor blessing. And then you do another 3, and you get a major blessing. So for every one of those, every minor and major, that charm will give us 10% more damage. So if we are flying through the upgrades and getting lots of them, you know, we want to get up to here and then maybe move on to the next one and maybe move on to the next one to get our maximized damage, you know. So you're kind of, you know, little build switch up there, something to change what you want to do if you want to do that. Get another blessing. So let's see what we want to get here. Oh, summon the tentacles. Absolutely, give me that. So secondary fire has a 24% chance to create a tentacle. That's every time it hits something, I believe. I suppose that's one of my criticisms, is sometimes the game will throw terminology at you, but doesn't really give you a good way that I could find of checking what the terminology means. So on the fire blessing, for example, it says when enemies flare, an effect might happen, but it doesn't tell you what flaring is or how it's really done. Now, from what I've been able to figure out, it's just when enemies are on fire, there's just a chance that fire will almost kind of do like a little mini explosion on them. I'm still not 100% sure on that, but that appears to be effectively like what's happening. So you can have it be like, when an enemy flares, they take 10% more damage after that, for example. But I just wish the game would give you sort of like an encyclopedia of just what these terms mean. Or like a little hover over it and see. And yeah, that would just be nice. You know, just a little quality of life thing. But that kind of brings me on to like what makes this game so appealing to me, because whenever I look at everything sort of objectively, it doesn't really do anything the best out of any other games that I've played, but it does all of it so well, and I think that's a really crucial part to making games like this. Like, does it have the best gunplay? No. I'd say RoboQuest probably has better gunplay and probably better movement, but this game has way more satisfying enemies. The builds are so much more interesting in this. Is this the most gorgeous looking game ever? No. Like, are these levels the most intricate, like, advanced thing ever? Like, no. But, like, they're good, you know? Everything about this game is good. At the very least. And I think that's one thing that makes this game really stand out. For me, anyways, what made me keep playing it is because every time I thought, like, oh, there's a part of the game I don't like, it would just actually be like, oh, you've actually unlocked this part that makes this part of the game way more interesting now, and now you actually want to do that, and it's really interesting. So here's a little wishing well, and give it some gold and maybe get a reward. We did indeed. Fire dot deals 5% more damage. Yeah, sure, we'll take that. You can also see on the right, there's like a time trial. Sometimes you'll get those when you enter the depths, or new depths, and it's like, beat it in this time, you'll get an extra chest. Or some of them are like, don't get hit the entire time. But yeah, it's really, really good. I haven't got the chance to try co-op yet. I have a feeling that it will scale enemy numbers rather than enemy health bars whenever you play in co-op, but I haven't actually looked into that yet because I've just been grinding this one by myself, to be honest. I just had so much fun playing it that I just started and did not stop. Let's kill all these guys, fire a few of these. I have to remember that spawns tentacles now. I think it spawns them on me, not like below where it is, so still pretty good in that regard. Even if it is like a little bit of an inefficient one on the right click, maybe. I really like the lightning aspect, which has a chance to chain lightning on this, and then you're firing it about, and it's firing more bolts about, and you can see sort of where it gets fun. That's actually one thing the game does very well, is the end game builds. Or, sorry, not endgame builds, but like the run killer builds, where you're just slaughtering everything in front of you. The closest comparison I can kind of make to it is it really makes it feel like Borderlands. Whenever you'd be playing through Borderlands and your build's kind of coming online, and then you get that one legendary that just clicks with your build, and suddenly you are nuking everything in front of you. And that's kind of what the crazy runs in this feel like. You know, damage numbers flying everywhere, you're launching abilities, and those abilities are all reacting with your other abilities, and it's just going crazy. That's honestly the closest sort of comparison I can make, and I think that's a really good one, because I mean Borderlands has thrived off that idea for a long time now. And I think this game captures that very, very well. So I'm a big fan. Big fan. But like I said, it just does everything so well. Like the blessings, like they're not the craziest, most out there ideas ever, but they work with the weapons so well that I'm interested in how every new weapon interacts with each blessing. Like, even if I don't particularly like some of the, like, one or two of the weapons, like the shotgun, I don't think it's particularly fun, although I haven't used, I haven't got any of the mods for it yet, so maybe some of those will change it and I'll have a really good time with it. But I would still want to see how the shotgun interacts with the chain lightning, or how it interacts with the tentacle spawning. You know, is each pellet in the shotgun going to spawn like a tentacle potentially? Like, how crazy does it get? You know, that's the sort of thing this game is doing really well. And I think it gets you into these runs so fast and so smoothly, and the gameplay just feels so good that it's so easy just to, even when you die, just new run, you know, you just get going, you get right in there. There's no messing about. So we use our little key here and we can get into a shop, like I said, you know, it's a roguelike, gotta have a shop. We got our crazy dude here. And you can buy a bunch of things. So I've got 216, so I could afford pretty much anything in here. One thing I have is the thing that lets me have 2 charm slots, so it's very strong. That's like a very end-game meta progression thing, so... let's see, deal 40 more damage at max health, using your ability... we'll do that one, because I'm not losing health, really, even though I'm not at max health right now, but... we'll get that, get an extra syringe, can't afford that, never mind, I'm out of money. I'm out of there. I guess, like, I suppose that's another thing, like, you know, when it comes to build variety, is it as crazy as Binding of Isaac? No. But, you know, it's still pretty damn good. What's there feels really, really solid. Let's just, you know, speak again about how this game doesn't do necessarily any one thing better than others, but the sum of its whole, the sum of all of its parts are really, really strong. And I think it's what makes this game so appealing to me, at least. Helps that the aesthetic is cool, obviously. Let's see here, we got a boss fight. We got our not fog wall, we got our light wall. And we got ourselves a big old boss. Like I said, it's going to be the same boss every time, so you get to know these bosses very well. So this guy, like I know this guy like the back of my hand. Not to say he doesn't get a hit on me or, you know, mess me up every now and again, because sometimes you'll just see a combination of moves you've never seen before. And he'll really mess you up sometimes. Visually, though, very, very cool boss. Animations are good, nice and clear. So far, nothing in this game has really felt like... Well, actually, I was going to say nothing in this game has really felt like when I get hit, you know, I know why I got hit. There are maybe some enemies on particularly the 3rd biome that are, like, a little bit crazy. Like, things get so hectic, it's just like... The game's kind of expecting you to just have a build that can kind of brute force it. Well, maybe not expecting you to do it, but it feels very difficult to escape those rooms without getting hit. You know, you will just get hit by something and just be like, I have no clue. Like, none at all. Like, what even remotely hit me? But it's one of those things, I mean, you're going to run through the game so many times that you'll eventually pick that up and learn, and then maybe that wouldn't be an issue. Maybe that would be a non-issue after that point. That's always the things when it comes to these, like, roguelike games, you know? Usually long play times, and you learn them really quite well by the time you're at the end of your sort of time with the game. And then time sensing. Oh, sorry, I needed to get here quick enough. There's a little time chest. I must have missed that one. But yeah, so that's once you beat that boss, then you're on to the next depth, and that's yeah, we're on depth 5, which is the next biome. And now it's totally changed. All the biomes are like very different from each other, which I really like. The visual variety is really, really nice, and the enemy variety is great too. I'm probably not going to show you any more from that regard, because I just want to show you the first area mainly. Didn't want to show you too much, you know, so keep the surprises so you can see what enemies are like in this area. But they are very different. Very, very different. Each biome feels like its own place. Certainly it doesn't feel like, oh, it's just like that area, but like, you know, 20% different. Nope, it is very quite different. Now, if I had to maybe pick a couple of things, these are small nitpicks, very, very small. I would say that maybe some of the text, just when it pops up on like the side of the screen, could be a wee bit more stylized. I think I would like to see that a wee bit more. It's certainly not bad, like it does the job now, but I think it's just maybe a bit too basic. I'd like to just see like a bit more brine punky themed text and on the little pop-ups on the side of the screen and stuff. You know, like the UI in the bottom left there, like those numbers, you know, brine punk them up a little bit, you know, like that's what I would like to see in that regard. And the other one was some of the sound effects can come off feeling just a little bit cheap, whereas everything else in the game seems to, you know, meet a certain standard. The main one I'm referring to here is the revolver. There's a revolver in the game, and it sounds like sort of an average pistol, you know? And it's like, you got a big revolver, you know, make that thing sound crazy. I'd love to see that. But those are the most minimal of nitpicks. Now there was a launch issue, so if you have a look at the reviews on Steam for this game and you see that the reviews were maybe a wee bit lower than the sort of praise I'm giving it, the game had like a pretty crippling bug for joining online games. If you opened the session browser, it would just crash your game instantly. But as of the time of this video, I believe just as I was like launching the game, I seen that an update had went live earlier today and fixed it. So as of that, I have no real issues with this game. Runs really well. Obviously, like I said, it's not the most visually demanding game, but even when things get like super crazy on the screen and things are flying everywhere, I haven't had any issues with slowdown or FPS drops or, you know, losing. I've never felt like I died because the performance of the game couldn't keep up with what's happening. So had a really, really good time with this one. The builds are good. Gameplay's fun, movement's fun, levels are fun, boss fights are fun. Like I said, just everything this game does, it's just good, you know? It's just solid. And it's not like, you know, passable. Like, it feels like there's genuine thought and effort put into all aspects of this game. And the way it all ties together is really, really good. So I'm a big fan. So I would say, yeah, if you like what you've seen here, I would definitely recommend picking it up, giving it a go, and not many of these games have 4-player co-op, I believe, so if you're in the market for that kind of thing, then, you know, maybe get a few friends, convince them to pick it up as well. But yeah, had a good time with this one. I think that'll do me for this first impressions, what's this then? And hopefully I have answered that question for you. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.